and welcome back to the Wizards Respite Sanctorum show where we deep dive into all things TTRPG. Today we have a lot of topics. We have our news segment, and then we have kind of a little bit of a controversial topic that we might be diving into, sort of tinkering with it, and really, getting under the hood is how some of these changes we've been seeing in the TTRPG space and honestly in the world might be affecting how we play some of our games. So like I said, this is a show about all things TTRPG and tabletop role-playing games, board games, all that kind of stuff. But as always, I'm not alone. I'm joined with my co-host, Zachariah from Old Man Gaming. Zach, how are you doing?
Hi. Not super looking forward to talking about this because I think I got a couple of hot takes on it. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm always excited to talk about TTRPGs. So
yeah, this is a hot take one, and I did kind of dump this on you, Zach.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'm at the last minute. I saw some segments about this in the news, but before we get into our hot takes and the controversy of the day, let's actually take a look at that news. Let's look at the news overall for the RPG hobby in general. And I'd only got a couple of segments here. I don't want to be harping on the same old too much. It seems like the news cycle is just in love with Daggerheart right now. Every news cycle that I've done, there's a new thing about Daggerheart. So Daggerheart's a thing, FYI, and it's really freaking popular. End of news.
I mean, is it really a D&D killer, do you think?
Good question. I don't know that. We live in such weird times right now. D&D has been the hallmark backbone of the hobby since the very beginning, and for good reason. It is the name, the first name, and it will always have that title. So I don't think D&D is necessarily going to die. I don't think it's going to be dead and gone. But we live in an era that didn't exist in any, only in the most wild dreams.
Yeah.
From, previous eras of the hobby. From the very first early 1970s RPGs to the heyday in the 80s to the floundering in the 90s to the return somewhat in the mid 2000s. Nothing. That's multiple eras, nothing like today, and the factors that need to be accounted for from today's landscape existed at those times.
Yeah,
we have the internet and a scope that has made actual plays a thing. We have media that is making movies of D&D, but also of role-playing games, which are primarily podcasts, and podcasts are kind of stealing the show from even just television.
Yeah,
and so now you have a very hot contender for people's attention. Who knows, man? Who knows? Daggerheart is a popular one. There's no doubt about it.
It's tough for me because I'm in the video game space as well, and it's just like every year we hear about the Call of Duty killer or the Madden killer or whatever, and they just continue to be temple staples for, right. I just said that just the arrows bounce right off of it, and it's like those juggernauts are not touched ever. But yeah, it is an interesting time. As far as role-playing games are concerned, we have never been so able to play role-playing games and playing the role-playing games that we want to play and publishing the role-playing games that we want to publish, which just causes so much choice in the genre. I grew up in an era when people thought it was Satan worship, so
I know.
So it's kind of crazy. It went from don't tell anybody because they might think you worship the devil to we make movies of it now,
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever said this on the show or to you. My dad didn't let me play Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid. Officially, he didn't. He told me I wasn't allowed to play it because it was Satan worshiping and all this stuff. And he was a good Catholic boy. He was a bad Catholic boy, but he was Catholic enough to not let me go to the wayward sign of Dungeons and Dragons. So I just called it the game, and my dad had no freaking clue what Dungeons and Dragons was. So when I told him I was playing the game, he just thought I was hanging out with my friends playing a weird game. He didn't know what Dungeons and Dragons was. So as long as I dropped the name, I was good to go.
Answer. But well played.
And then now, like, where it was a shameful act, like I literally today was in Target picking up a couple of groceries, walking through the store, and a guy pulled me off to the side and was like, "Cool shirt, man."
Yeah.
Which is, random plug, but my D&D shirt.
Yeah, I get it all the time. The Dungeon Master shirt and the one shirt that I designed, the one with the critical botch.
Yeah.
I get compliments on them all the time. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that we now live in that now,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So back to the news real quick.
Yes.
I got 3 interesting articles on various topics that are making the rounds. One, we've talked about a little bit in the past, which is IPs that are being transferred over to RPGs. We both kind of talked about how there's some issues there, and the latest one appears to be Attack on Titan, which is a very popular anime, and is now starting to get its RPG. It's been announced at Gen Con. The game itself actually looks like it does have its more unique system, so it's not necessarily capitalizing on an already existing game system. It's creating its own mechanics. But it's very much based off of the world and the physics and I don't know if you're familiar with the anime at all.
Vaguely. I'm not an anime guy anymore. I was when I was a kid. Just not anymore. I will say you cannot throw a stone in the TTRPG space without hitting a anime system. So why we need to make a completely separate system for an anime is beyond me. I mean, the world to me is not different enough to require a new system. They should have talked to one of the literally hundreds of anime, like generic anime systems out there and gotten those some cred instead of going their own route and flooding the market with even more systems that we don't need. Summarize it this time.
Yeah, there you go. I can kind of agree on this one, honestly. I haven't. The game isn't out yet, so I can't really say for sure.
Right.
But you're looking at giants, like these monstrous giants running around, and then these little people sort of swinging around city streets and cutting them to pieces with their swords. This sounds like you could definitely start making some maneuvers with a mech system, and gunships that will also be, or fighters that are also built into that same system. And there are plenty of mech systems with giant robots and little fighter pilots that fly around and shoot them.
Tons of
it doesn't have to be one-to-one. You can just make it work, manipulate it so it fits and retool it and reskin it. But you got systems out there that basically are giants versus little guys.
And I don't... I've never watched the anime, so I'm not 100% positive. But to me, it seems like a pretty straightforward experience on the whole. It's not like you're dealing with a whole nother world. You're not dealing with a whole other type of species. You're not dealing with an extended universe, like say Bleach or Naruto or something. Where then I'd be a little bit more like, okay, make a system for that because you have this whole big thing that you want to incorporate into one. But Attack on Titan is just Attack on Titan. I don't get it. Why it needs its own IP, and maybe that's insensitivity on my part because I haven't watched the subject material, but I feel like this could have been a module for any number of systems out there that would have gotten those systems much more needed press and clout.
Yeah, I'm kind of in line with you on that one. And the cool thing, if you were to go the route of using an already existing system and giving them that press and clout, is that you're making space for more and more IPs to exist in already existing platforms. And now you can play more and more of your favorite stories and favorite worlds and settings. It's easier to do, more consumable to do, because there's already systems out there that are pretty much in line with it, and people are good at assimilating IPs into existing mechanical structures. But that is, I thought that was at least, it's another, big thing in the news that's making some waves. Another one that I thought was actually pretty kind of fun was Diablo is actually going to RPG, a TTRPG. Okay. I thought this was a little bit interesting because Diablo, as the very early video game, was one of those video games that's essentially modeled off of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
It was their attempt at making a video game that replicated the fun of an RPG, of a TTRPG. And now it's moving back to the tabletop, but going back to its origins. Now, as far as let me take a look at my notes. As far as the actual mechanics of it, it looks like this is also getting its own mechanical system. It's using a custom D6 dice pool system. Now, this one, I'm a little bit more okay about having this IP have its own mechanical system. Like you were just saying, this is a very fleshed out world. You can have there are classes in this world. Unless you're just going to take like AD&D, which the original Diablo was sort of modeled off of when they made a video game out of it. Yeah, it does kind of need its own system. It's so unique. All the different powers that the different classes can have are so unique, and I don't know. I think it'd be this one might warrant its own build.
I don't necessarily disagree with you on that. I think that it is a big enough world with enough like lore and world building required that it could use its own system. At the same time, I would not have batted an eye if this was a D20 system or another fantasy add-on.
Right.
But I'm not nearly as like up. I'm not upset about the last one. I'm not nearly as against them making their own system for this.
Yeah. This is kind of like a perfect example of how to do it right, I guess. Versus how to do it wrong. And finally, Legends in the Mist is a new narrative-focused RPG that's coming out. They are talking. It's not based off an IP, but they're relating it to. I always screw up how to pronounce this guy's name. This Studio Ghibli style storytelling.
Yeah.
And also sort of leaning into the Ursula Le Guin storytelling, which I have a couple of her books. I've read the Wizard of Earthsea series. It's a very sort of organic, almost soft magic sort of world with a little bit of hidden hard magic underneath it. Like you get the sense in these settings that there's hard magic there. There's a hard magic system, but you can't quite see it.
I guess.
And there's a mystery there to it. And that seems to be what they're trying to do with a narrative-first RPG, where the character's abilities and powers come from their character builds, their personality builds, their thematic storytelling narratives. And it also looks like this one actually is powered by the Apocalypse game engine.
Okay.
So, which is a pretty flexible game engine. I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
There's so many apocalypse-based games out there.
Yeah. Interesting.
It makes sense that they would use that one as a foundation.
Interesting.
I'm actually, that's my favorite news segment of the day. I like the idea of a narrative first game, and I like the idea of a soft magic system that still has a hard magic rule system for a game.
Yeah.
Because that's a tricky line to balance.
It's really.
If you can do it.
Look, magic in a system is the hardest thing to do. I maintain that throughout any of my games that I've written, any of the games that I've even published. Like, if you want magic in your system, it's hard. And you think about it just like, oh, you think about it in terms of D&D. Like, you've got your fighters. They do up close and big damage. And, but then you have a mage that's maybe a little bit weaker, but they do more support stuff and they have more uses. And that is so hard to translate onto paper. Because you have so many options. You can do like giant, huge like spell lists, and then that's what they're limited to unless they learn it. You can give them like effects that they have to craft into the spell each time. There's so many different levels. Plus, like, so many people just make hybrid characters anyway. And then how do you keep magic from being broken? It's a whole nother level of like abilities and effects that, like, why wouldn't I want to also break the bounds of reality? It is a hard system to do, just like all the way around.
And what you just talked about was a hard magic system where it's very clearly you cast a spell. It's like saying a magic word. They're trying to do this in a sort of a pseudo hard magic, soft magic, where it's like more of a whimsy kind of feel that you're getting out of it. And you're turning that into a game. Yeah. That's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing their take on soft magic at a game table.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting.
Because it's almost like that hard.
I mean, you think about soft magic being like more like Mage the Ascension and stuff like that. But like that kind of stuff can get real fucking twisted too, because I can't count the number of 20-minute arguments I've had with my GM because like I want to cast a spell and he's like, you can't cast that, and we have to figure out like a negotiation on what kind of spell I could cast and whether that is close enough to the thing that I want to cast and why I can't cast the thing that you know what I mean? Like the minute you hit soft magic, it's like, then, all right, now we're having a theological debate about what magic is and how it can be used. Like the minute you do that. So like, it's a real tricky system to navigate and mess with.
It is. And so, you know what, when this does drop, I'm definitely going to want to read it, and I think it might be a good game to compare against actually the Ascension, because like you said, there's not a lot of that is a soft magic system where you kind of just come up with your spells, but there's not a lot of systems out there that do that.
Yeah,
and there's definitely not a lot of popular systems that do that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But that is it for the news today. Are you ready to jump into our?
Let's get into it.
Our topic. Into the nasty. Okay. So, I've been seeing this trending and talked about on various spaces quite a bit, and that is the use of co-DM AI co-DM systems out there. Artificial intelligence that are helping and supporting DMs, maybe even at times being a DM for a system. And I thought, there's been a lot of debate about RPGs and AI anyways. It's been all over the place. It's been in the news everywhere.
Quagmire.
Quagmire. It's been a quagmire. That is 100% right. So I wanted to, that is a topic that is so broad, I figured it made a little bit more sense before jumping into it to narrow it down to an aspect. One of the many ways AI is being talked about in RPGs, because there are a lot. It's a quagmire. And I thought, let's start with the DMs, because let's face it, the DM is at the core of every game table. You don't have a GM, you don't have a game. So, what do you? Any initial thoughts that you want to share with the universe today?
Okay, well, this is tricky. This is a tricky subject because you have one side where it makes a lot of things easier. It's a lot of resources for you. It's, something you use, and you get another side that is like, it is thievery, and it is going to be that, and all of it should be abolished and abominated or whatever. But I mean, here's the thing. What people don't realize, I think, about AI is that I don't think it should be called AI. This thing just collects shit from the internet. That's what it does. It collects shit from the internet, and then it interprets it in a way that your brain would want to understand, and then it feeds it to you. That's what it does. That's all AI does. Every time you search on the internet, that's an AI. Every time you go to Google, it's using AI. Like AI is just in, at least in the way that we're talking about it, not actual artificial like Skynet destroy you intelligence. Like it's everywhere. You can't avoid it. It is interwoven with our society and has been for years. The problem is that you got to this point where like it's so sophisticated now, it deserved its own name. And then once you realize what it's doing, you get very mad about how it's doing it, especially because you have a lot of people, specifically companies and people, exploiting it to get around things. I'm going to tell you guys something, and you might hate me for this. If you hate me for this, that's fine. I have exploited AI for pictures. Look, do I think it is stealing from artists? Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, I'm not going to argue that. But I am one single guy with absolutely no bankroll whatsoever trying to publish a game on the internet against mega companies that don't give a shit about AI, who are just using it anyway. And my games don't sell without pictures, and pictures cost like $40 to $60 a pop. I mean, like a pop. Like, even if you buy asset packs, and you've got to hope that the asset pack fits the theme of your game. And let's face it, if it does fit the theme of your game, then there's probably too many of those games for you to be original enough to get noticed anyway. So you end up in this real tricky situation where this helps the small guy. It helps the small guy. Do I think it should help the small guy? Yes. But the problem is then you have the mega corporations who are like, well, we're just going to use this and fire a bunch of people and not pay artists. And that's bullshit. Where do you find the line there? And then we're talking about the GM one. I got a little bit off track. We're talking about the GM one, but I tend to think of it this way. Is the AI hurting somebody? Is it taking money out of somebody's pocket? Is it causing somebody's job to be affected in some way, shape, or form? If it is not, who cares? If you're GMing a game and you're using an AI to help you GM a game, who is getting hurt there?
Right. Yeah, it's a game. You're playing a game with a bunch of friends. Your AI companion maybe just did some math for you. Like, it's not that. In one respect, using a AI to help you run a role-playing game isn't that different than using a calculator to calculate your damage because you just crit 1,000 times or whatever your game system is using.
Yeah, and I don't want to undercut it. It's just the problem is when it makes something easy, that's simple for somebody. It also makes it easy and simple for somebody to exploit, just like any other discovery that we've ever had in human history. You know, Skyrim. I want to play Skyrim where all the with an AI in it, because that means everybody in the entire game I can have full conversations with, like full conversations. Yeah. And they will learn from me, and they will remember me, and it won't just be them repeating that they took an arrow to the knee 300 times. That's awesome as a player. As a player, that's awesome. However, as a voice actor, when I go to find out that there's a mod that allows an AI to make sex noises for my character, so that somebody can add a sex scene to the game that I didn't sign on for, but it's my voice on this character saying stuff. That's not okay. At least I should be paid for that, if not like asked if that's even all right. You know, the guy that's belting out a bunch of extra lines about not having an arrow in the knee, he got paid something to say he had an arrow in the knee. Now he's not getting paid shit. So like, it's real tricky. It's real tricky because as a player, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's going to make my game so much cooler. But as somebody who's looking at it from the business outside in, it's like, ooh, ouchie. When it comes to GMing TTRPGs, though, I mean, I can't think of anyone who is directly being hurt by somebody who is GMing a game for free using AI to assist them with that.
I can, that's not a bad argument at all. And this is such an interesting one because, you know, AI, you went in, we started with, I
went all over the place, I'm sorry.
No, this is kind of actually kind of relevant though, because like you cannot go all over the place,
right?
Because it's such a diverse tool. Like, you kind of have to like look at it as a whole and then focus in on the AI and DMing stuff specifically, because people are going to use it to create not just their a little bit of help with their DMing, or they need a name real quick for an NPC they didn't come up with, and your players just decided to walk into a tavern and fuck shit up. So that kind of stuff is one thing, and then but also you're gonna have like players that are gonna want to create their vision of their characters in tokens or in pictures that they can bring with them. And then so it is still like so interwoven together and connected to each other, even at the game table.
Yep.
Now, when it comes to specifically DMing tools, I have a little list here of some that are they have some popularity. Calypso is one of the big ones for DMing tools, and more for the tool aspect. It will help you come up with your notes quite a bit. It helps you keep track of like items, loots, magical powers. It helps you. It's very much designed to help you regulate your game, versus something that's like just Chat GPT, where you can just type in a prompt and it'll give you a bunch of stuff, and maybe some of it's useful for your game, maybe some of it's not. Maybe it's not really like RPG focused. Calypso is more like, okay, this is going to work for your RPG. And the Archivist AI is another big one. This one's actually I'm actually half thinking about using myself. The biggest thing that this one does is basically you can add transcripts from your game sessions to this software, and it will summarize it. It will track what happened. It will keep track of the magical items. It'll help you organize, loot drops and money and who's been hurt, through the course of your campaign by just uploading these transcripts. Yeah. As a freaking tool, man, that is
and who's getting hurt by
much
that?
Work.
Yeah, who's getting hurt by that? Who is suffering from that? Who is that taking money from? And I can't think of anybody. You know what I mean? It's not like you're stealing from other game masters or something. It's the same with like having an AI basically game master for you. I'd be all right with that, man. So that we could all play at the table and not know what's going to happen. I mean, arguably, that is just procedural generation on a second level, like on another level up. Like one level
right
up. And there are books right now out there that are just procedural generation. They're just rolling. You and I listened to a podcast that was literally just about them rolling everything randomly on these charts and dealing with it like game mastering themselves almost. I don't understand. Like, that's not that big a leap. You know what I mean? Plus everybody gets to play,
That's a really good one. One of the most popular games sold on DriveThruRPG like a year or two ago, for I think the entire year, was essentially a module for running a DM-less game. And it was exactly what you said. Roll on the table, figure out what's going on. It's designed to help you with all of that stuff so that nobody is the DM, everybody's the player. And one of the other systems that I was actually going to talk about also is exactly what you just said. Friends and Fables, AI-powered RPG platform that serves as the game master. It is your game master. We're saying it's for a reason. It is a machine that will be your game master. And it will take care of all of the mechanics. That is a good question.
I'm kind of curious about that because I think one of these days when we've got slightly less projects, we should have it run a game for us and record it.
You know what? That actually doesn't sound like a terrible idea at all.
Awesome.
I think you might be dropping
a game, come up with all the shit. Yeah.
Just to see how it works and show everybody, what the system is. Maybe there are pros and cons to it.
I'd go halvesies on the program with you. like without a doubt.
Yeah.
And then we could just like fucking, we could even get a couple other players because we're not doing anything. it's just scheduling, right? Like I'd be all right with that.
That sounds actually like a fun experiment. And a
Genius.
lot of fun.
Genius. Look out for that in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, who's that hurting? Who is that hurting? I can't think of anybody. I can't think of anybody that's taking money away from at all. You know, all you're doing is making an experience different for everybody who's enjoying it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a problem with any of that. I mean, I think that... And are people really having problems with this? Like, this part of it?
Some people are losing their shit hard.
Why?
They're going... Absolutely.
I don't understand this. I understand. I 100% understand the argument of AI being used to create content for videos. I understand the argument about AI being used to create pictures and art. I understand the AI being used to create content. I don't understand this. I don't understand this.
So there's a lot of arguments. Some of them are stronger than others. There's one that I think is very interesting from a conceptual outside of the argument, looking at the nature of the argument itself. Because this is a weird new technology, we're looking at it like we have to look at it to a certain extent of like, okay, we've never had to deal with this before as a species, as a race, as a culture. You know, we have to make decisions on how we're going to approach this technology, no matter what. So let's look at it from up high before we actually get into whether or not it's right or wrong. Let's look at the question itself. And one of the questions is it ethical to use a computer, AI like this? And this is where it gets really conceptual based. And the argument is very much in line with the same type of argument of saying please to ChatGPT or thank you to ChatGPT is unethical because it's not a human. And you shouldn't treat non-human things as humans. There's an argument there. That is a very high-level philosophical hoity-toity argument. Okay, but that is an argument that's being made. And that's kind of the argument they're making about why DMs shouldn't be using these types of...
I mean, I said thank you to my dog hardware. When it doesn't piss on the floor. That's not human. I mean, I hate to get crude about it, but... The idea that I only say please and thank you to humans is kind of insane.
I mean, my wife will cry when the toaster breaks and we have to throw it out because she gets attached to it.
I say please to my school bus all the time because it doesn't take hills well. And like, we'll be going up a hill, I'll be like, please, please, please. I need to get these kids where they need to go. Like I don't understand that logic. That's silly to me. That's almost like human Elisa. That's like the start of human racism. like humanism. Is. Like it's kind of insane.
It is. It's 100% crazy.
Well, we say if aliens came down and they started talking to us, we'd just be like, "I'm sorry, I can't say thank you. You are not a human." Like that's the weirdest fucking thing ever. That's a weird thought process. I am.
It's very much that high-level philosophical debate, which, as we're sitting here talking, doesn't really live in the real world so much, you know?
I mean, the fact is, too, what people don't understand about these AIs, they are not AI, okay? They are algorithms, okay? They're all algorithms. They're just extremely strong algorithms that can take a lot of information and condense it into one little information. Like, none of these fucking things are passing the Turing test. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, they're not going to launch Skynet missiles at us. It's just search engines. It's search engines that are extremely powerful to the point where the search engine can take the idea of what you want and refine it into a thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. Like,
these things...
Go ahead.
If these things launch missiles at us, it isn't because they're malicious or they want to. It's because you put a computer together and a computer malfunctions. Yes. Just like if 1980s, before the internet existed, if a missile launched, it's because somebody dropped a cup of coffee on it. It's not because the computer system wanted to launch a missile.
Right.
Same thing with the algorithm. If the algorithm breaks and starts doing weird shit and telling people to go like off themselves, or have sex with their grandmothers, or all kinds of the weird stuff you see in the news. It's because the algorithm is broken and you put a voice synthesizer on it.
Exactly. And there's something else that people need to realize too, is that these algorithms, these AIs, are echo chambers. Okay, they're echo chambers. If you say a bunch of depressed shit to it, it learns that that's what you want, and that's what it gives you. So they're not like, it's not like this thing is taking the information you're saying and forming rational, sentient thought about it. It is taking the information you're saying and trying to give you something in response to that. It takes basically everything as a question, and it's trying to answer it. They're echo chambers. My I don't want to go into those, but there's so many experiences like that where if you're especially if you use the AI a lot, if you're using it a lot, it's learning what you like to hear and what you want. It's like because this would make it sentient if I compared it to a puppy dog, but it's trying to learn. It's trying to learn exactly what the outcome that you want is. That's all it's trying to do. So when you feed it a bunch of shit and it tells you to go kill yourself, maybe you're saying a bunch of depressing shit to it and it thinks that's what you want it to say to you. That's how these things work. They're not it's not like a thing that it's listening to you and going, I see what's wrong. There's some trauma in their childhood and I need to, you know what I mean? That's not what they're doing. They're just X plus Y equals Z. That's all these things are. They're just that to the 40th power.
Right. So, I am disinclined to give much space to the high-level philosophical arguments regarding the use of these tools Silly. At a private game table with a bunch of friends playing with a new toy.
I mean, exactly. What's even weirder? We really can. I don't know. Again, I keep coming back to it. Who is it taking money from? You know what I mean? Who is it hurting? If it's not hurting anybody, then let the people use it. Who gives a shit?
Now, a more grounded argument against AI, and I've been I find AI particularly fascinating. It's something that I always keep one eye on whenever I roll through my news feeds, all news feeds. But one argument against AI is the diminishing of human intellect and creativity because of the reliance on these tools. It's if you don't go, for a walk once a day, your heart is going to get weak. If you don't use your brain once a day, your brain's going to get weak. Kind of concept here. And I actually do think that there is some validity, and there is some science actually backing that. There was a recent study relating to college students writing essays and their ability to remember what they had written using ChatGPT versus what they the control group that actually sat down at a typewriter or a computer and typed it out. Typewriter, Jesus. And
we show our age.
Yeah, I know, dude.
Look, man, you don't even have to say it. I'll tell you the science. I was around before cell phones. I knew everybody's phone number. I got a cell phone. I don't know anyone's phone number ever. I barely 100%. Know my own phone number. There's definitely something about hey, your brain doesn't have to do this anymore. So, because your brain is a high-level computer. That's all it is. And that high-level computer is going to take, we don't need to do this anymore? All right, we're not doing that anymore. That's a processing power we will save for something else, the shopping list or some shit. That's how it'll work, and then that'll be out. So that, to me, is a more logical argument that I would be willing to hear. I think... Go ahead.
I think so too. And exactly your comment about the cell phone is very similar to the one that I've actually made about Google Maps and navigation on my phone.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
before before smartphones even existed, I would look up maps on MapQuest, print them off, tape them to my window, so I can like see the number of miles before I had to get my next turn off.
Not to digress too far. Not to digress too far, but there are some bus garages. I'm a school bus driver. For anybody who is just now listening, there are bus garages out there that use GPS. Our bus garage specifically does not use GPS. There are no GPS installed in our buses. We have a GPS installed, but it is for parents to figure out how close we are to their stop. It is not a directional GPS. I personally think that's great because as hard as it is, and as distracting as it is to have a packet of paper that I have to somehow decipher while driving like one of the world's largest fucking land vehicles with a bunch of children on it, I learned the roads. So if I miss a kid, I know how to get back to them. If somebody needs me to go get a kid, I know how to get there. I know Kent now. I didn't know Kent before, and I had lived here for 5 years before I got this job. I know Kent now. I know it. And like that comes from doing it. That comes from driving it. It comes from not relying on the GPS, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I get that.
And your brain builds strength as a result of that.
Here's the thing.
And I do see...
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I do see the weakness of creativity occurring. I think that there may be ways of still using these AI-assisted DM tool that doesn't diminish a person's creative nature by forcing the AI to ask questions and then do very mundane tasks, as opposed to just generating full-on scripts. From a self-reliant brain strength perspective, I think that I'm not a scientist here, I'm not a neuroscientist, I think that may work.
Here's my thing. Here's my argument, though. And like I understand the diminishing of human creativity. If you're using ChatGPT to write a story, okay, it's like you're going to lose some of that. But you and I both know game mastering an RPG, and an RPG in itself is not writing a story. It's not even remotely writing a story. So first of all, if I'm using a GM, an AI to help me do mundane shit, like, hey, here's the background for this bad guy. Give me stats out of the system. Like, how is that diminishing human creativity? It's not. It might be diminishing my math ability, but it's not diminishing my human creativity. I think the other thing is, too, when you're talking about AI game mastering all by itself a bunch of humans, the humans are coming up with the characters and how they're talking and how they're interacting with it. There are so many different, like, we're not talking about just a video game or a movie or script writing. We are talking about so many ways to interact with the core subject material. Yes, in the case of an AI GMing, the AI is coming up with the core subject material, but you also have players being creative and interacting with that AI to try and do whatever they want to do. And I don't know how intuitive the AI is for that. I'm very interested and almost eager at this point to try it just to see. Yeah. But like, at the same time, whenever that time comes, I will still have a page written about my character. I'll still be speaking in voice and trying to pretend them. I mean, I think that argument folds a little bit just on the TTRPG table, and that is because there is just so many ways to interact with what you're trying to do. So like giving the GM, giving the AI the ability to interact with all those things, it's not necessarily going to kill you.
Right. Yeah. I can definitely see a solid argument there.
And I want to make it very clear to everybody, I'm not for AI. Like, I know that I've been arguing for it a lot on this podcast, which is why I was afraid to do it. I'm not for AI. I don't necessarily think I'm not going to go out on a page and be like, yeah, let AI do whatever. Like, that's not me. I think it is a very tricky technology. It is a
Right.
very interesting thing. Personally, if I ever made enough money to pay an artist, I would pay an artist, first. And that's not even because monetarily it's the right thing to do. I mean, it is, and that should be the reason, but it's because human art is better than AI art, no matter how it comes out. It just is. It just is. If I ask somebody who to draw art, the same picture that I get from AI, and like I said, I've used some AI pictures for some of my games that I wasn't making shit on, and I've used AI pictures for like our podcast assistants. Wiz actually will do some pictures for us, just visual aid for people watching our podcast.
Right.
If I asked somebody to draw those pictures, they'd be way better. I don't even for a second think they wouldn't be better. It's just they would also cost like $80 a pop and take the guy a week and a half. And it should cost that much, but I don't have that. And I'm trying to make something small happen here. So like I think that like responsibility wise you should just pay artists because it's a better product. It's a better product all the way around,
And this might be this is then a completely unscientific way of approaching this, and I am 99.9% sure my statement is going to be wrong. I am wrong in saying this, but I'm going to say it anyways because I still feel it, and I'm going to stick with it because I'm stubborn enough to do it. When you look at a picture that was drawn by an artist, you can feel a soul in that picture that you don't feel from AI.
Yes,
you can just feel it.
I agree.
And I'm sure if a bunch of psychologists put a test subject together where they're looking at art from humans versus prompts and generated art from, they'll come out the same, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Yeah. I feel it. I feel it in my gut. And that's just how I feel.
You feel the emotion that the artist was doing. And I completely agree with that. I think as far as the art goes, the first law should be if your company makes less than like $200 a year, go ahead and use it. You know what I mean? Right, yeah. Like I have never, I think to date I've made $110. So like I'm not gonna feel bad for 1 second for using some AI art here and there. But if I was making money, I should be paying an artist. As far as the game mastering though, I just don't see I don't see an ethics violation that is warranted here.
Yeah, like I said, the biggest ethics violation I see that is really being hammered for home GMs using this is that high-level philosophy stuff, which isn't really practical in the real world. It doesn't really connect well. Practical stuff, generic tone coming out of like you said like earlier, it's a echo chamber. So if you run, your games consistently through this, you're gonna get some boring crap eventually coming out of it. There's not gonna be,
there's gonna be a point. There's gonna be a point where that game master, that AI game master is like, oh, these guys, they want this, they want this, they want this, they want this, and then you're gonna be like, right. I've had this every day for like 4 years, and then that's. You know what I mean? I'm interested to see the longevity of that. That's why we got to try this at some point. We got to just try that one day. That sounds really interesting.
100%. I think so too. I think for
the sake of science.
Be on the I definitely think that this is going to be, a show in the making here in the future. Hopefully soon.
I'm a pretty unstable player, too, so I don't know how an AI would be able to deal with me.
That's kind of the crazy part about it. Like, every DM knows that you are going to walk into a table with an entire idea of how the game's going to go, and it does not go that way ever. Mm-hmm. Players just do their thing.
Yeah, can an AI handle that,
Yeah, how, I don't know. But I'm curious. I think we're going to find out. Any last thoughts on the GM
No,
tool AI world?
GM tool AI, no, not really. I do want to hammer home to everybody. I'm not necessarily pro AI. I know I had some hot takes on it. I think it's one of those technologies that we don't quite know how to handle yet, and we're still trying to figure that out collectively as a society. And I think in the same respects, everybody on both sides of any argument needs to have a little bit more empathy. Don't just decide one way or the other that this is the worst thing or this is the best thing, because that's how we end up getting radicalized, and that's how we end up in the situation we're in. So,
Right.
just try and keep an open mind to what somebody else is saying. I
That's
don't
really
think.
fantastic advice.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any. I don't necessarily see any ethics violation with using it as a GM or to help you GM. I think that's kind of the perfect use for it, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty much on the same page there. I think the biggest concern is like the diminishing of creativity. I do think that's something that can be managed, offset, and even eliminated if you are approaching it, with the mindset of not allowing that to happen, knowing that you don't want that to happen. Final thoughts I have on basically this, and also just sort of the AI in general as a topic. This technology is not going anywhere. It's only going to get better and better and better. 200 years from now.
And worse.
Oh, yeah. And 200 years from now, the human race is going to be looking back at us today, talking about what we were doing and thinking about when this technology became a thing for the very first time.
Yep.
Who knows what the world is going to look like then? All we can do, I think, right now is manage and explore. We're exploring. So, like you had said, be empathetic, because we're all just explorers here trying to discover the new world.
Agreed.
There's no maps. There's no blueprints. Let's just figure it out.
Yep.
All right. Then I think that pretty much calls it then. Zach, anything you want to plug before we wrap out our show today?
We're still working on a lot of stuff. We've got some Astro Drive episodes coming out, I think in September. So that's exciting. Dual Bastards here should also be coming out in September at some point soon. It is done in the system that I'm working on right now, which I'm very excited about, with Wiz, of course, and a new person to the show. There's a lot of fencing and swashbuckling, which is a lot of fun. And then on the video game front, we're doing BG3L3, which is myself, my video game podcast co-host Neil and his lovely wife Kayla playing Baldur's Gate 3 together, and it is... I rewatch it because it makes me laugh. So check that out. Other than that, check out everything that channel has to offer. Go buy Wiz's shirts on his stuff and do all the stuff Wiz is about to say.
So wizardsrespite.com, you can watch all of these episodes there. We also have articles pertaining to all things TTRPG, as well as shirts. So go ahead and pick up some TTRPG themed t-shirts. And yeah, I guess until next time, everybody out there, keep rolling them dice.